Welcome to Entrepreneurship at Rowan, an official production of the award-winning Rowan Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. We cover the entrepreneurial pulse of Rowan students, faculty, and alumni. Prepare to be Rowan proud.
Hello, Rowan University. I am your host, Madison Miller, and welcome back to Season 5 of the Entrepreneurship at Rowan podcast, where we are focusing on creative entrepreneurs. For our final episode of this season, I'm here with Matt Groark, Rowan alum, founder of Groark Boys BBQ, which was featured on Gordon Ramsay's Next Level Chef, and culinary teacher at Washington Township High School. I'm so happy that you could join me today, and I'm dying to know more about you and your journey.
I'm excited to be here, Madison. It's pretty cool. I've been able to come back a couple times and talk to students and, be able to see kids that I teach at the high school that are here now. Really, really cool. So I'm pumped to talk.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And it's so cool that you went here and that you're coming back today, not just for this podcast, but also to talk to students in CEO Club.
Yep.
My first question for you is just, I want to learn more about your career journey and how you got to where you are today. So from, going to school here at Rowan and then just going on your whole journey with, health and phys ed teaching and also the culinary stuff.
Yeah. So, man, what a roundabout way to get to where I am now. Really, if you had told me, 15, 20 years ago that I'd be teaching culinary at a high school, have been on, a Gordon Ramsay show on Fox that aired literally after the Eagles lost the Super Bowl back in, 2022, 23, I'd say you're crazy. But, my path was probably a lot like, some students listening to this. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do coming out of high school. I went to Gloucester County College at the time, now, Rowan. Right. So I did that for my undergrad, spent my first 2 years there, just kind of taking all my undergrad stuff, all the core courses, still not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do. Spent my 2 years there. I was able to play basketball at Gloucester County College for a year and then went to Eastern College in St. David's, PA, played ball there, did some athletic training as a major, decided I wanted to try out physical therapy, PT, OT, and went to Stockton for that. So left Eastern, went to Stockton, spent a year there, did some internships, didn't really click with me, and then left there and came to Rowan and majored in health and exercise science for teacher cert. Really found my place here. Loved the program, loved all my professors, really found that teaching and coaching is what I wanted to do. Graduated here in 2003 and was fortunate, as hard as it was at the time, for health and phys ed jobs, because health phys ed teachers just don't leave. Mm-hmm. They teach for 30, 40 years. This is a pretty awesome job. So I was fortunate to lock in at Washington Township High School. I was actually at the middle school first and then moved down to the elementary level for 2 years. And I've been at the high school since 2006, teaching health and phys ed for 20 years. Now in year 22. So a few years away from possible retirement, all due to kind of what came about in terms of what I'm doing now. So I've always been around food, always been around cooking. While I was here at Rowan and from the time I started teaching, I was waiting tables at restaurants. That was kind of, the best gig, still is, to be able to get some cash in your pocket as a, young adult. I loved it. I loved being back in the kitchen. I didn't do the cooking back then, but through that, kind of got into tailgating and grilling with, being a Philadelphia Eagles season ticket holder and, getting to go to Philly for all the games, whether it's Phillies, Eagles, or whoever. And I kind of developed a little bit of a rep, amongst my family for being the one that would be grilling at the tailgates. And shortly after that, caught the barbecue bug and kind of smoking meats and the science behind it, and kind of got obsessed with it. And this was probably 2014, 15 that started. Gradually just kept learning through I kind of call it YouTube University. I went through all my social media platforms and started really just becoming obsessed with learning, the science behind barbecue and perfecting it. And all that time continued with the tailgates and all that stuff. Started posting on social media, Instagram back when it was just photos. Got into TikTok when it came about in 2018. All the while I was teaching, health and phys ed at the high school, kind of doing the barbecue stuff on the side. As a teacher, you never just teach. You have side jobs. I would do driver's ed. I would coach. I had 3-4 things I was still doing part-time, still working at a restaurant as well, waiting tables and making some cash on weekends. Through this crazy social media stuff, kind of started going viral, found out people enjoy barbecue and watching videos and maybe learning a thing or two. And, here we are, 5.5 million some odd followers later across all platforms. And it's really become my second full-time job, I guess, with opportunities just popping up every week, being able to end up on a show like Gordon Ramsay has with Next Level Chef was a pretty wild experience, and something that came about all because of social media and kind of marketing myself and, creating essentially a marketing online digital business through social media. And at the time was also cooking and doing barbecue catering and things like that as well. So it's been a wild ride and still kind of just getting started, as they say. But, kind of juggling the teaching and social media aspect of things now.
I mean, you said in the beginning, it sounds like a lot of students' paths. I feel like, I totally connect with a lot of that, like the working in the restaurant and the Phillies and Eagles tailgates. It's like a real South Jersey story, and I love it. Yeah.
It's been really cool. I really stumbled into the barbecue thing just through trying to find a way. I have 2 boys at home. They're 9 and 10. Now. So, we're going back to 2014, 15 when they were born. Being a teacher and having to leave school and do another job after school, whether it was doing driver's ed behind the wheel lessons for kids or coaching basketball and being out until 9 o'clock at night doing that, whether it was leaving school and going to a restaurant and working. The teacher salary really is a tough, we both had to work. We were both in education. And we both had side jobs, to make ends meet. So for me, when the barbecue thing came around, it was really, the bottom line was, man, this is an opportunity for me to be home more, to be able to take those 2 or 3 other side jobs that I have to be able to pay bills and do whatever else we want to do and be at home cooking and doing barbecue and catering and spending more time with my family, with my wife and kids. And that's really what motivated me to continue to do it. And the more I saw it working, the harder I worked at it, the more convinced I was that it could be something even more than just a catering gig. It's so much more than just filming a video and posting a video, a lot of different ways that you can monetize social media. And, I've learned enough to the point now where it's kind of second nature. But, when I sit back and look at it and see everything I do, it's like I'm wearing 5 different hats. I'm an editor. I do the filming. I'm producing videos. I'm coming up with ideas. I'm the creative. And I'm doing all of it. I don't have a team like some do with a full-time job. I can't do that yet. At some point, maybe down the road, I will. And then you get involved in management and having to manage personalities and people and jobs. So it's been really cool. I've been really fortunate. I've worked with some amazing brands, whether I'm monetizing through the apps directly. I'd say the majority of my monetization with social media comes from brand deals. So, something like where I'm working and filming a video for Pepsi, during the Super Bowl this past year. So those are the kind of opportunities that come around. Next week, I'm heading to Portland, Oregon to film a commercial for a company called Benchmade, who is a culinary and knife company. So we're doing like a grilling, commercial to feature their knives. And I get to go to Portland and spend, 3-4 days there and make a little bit of money and, end up in a national commercial, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool that
it's wild.
Pepsi, that's like a huge, that's
it
awesome.
Was, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So it's
so cool.
That's where the opportunities are, and I'm blessed and but it's motivating. And, I've talked to kids at my high school about it, being able to come back here and talk about it. It's just, it's an exercise in realizing that if you're passionate about something and go all in, good things will happen, good things can happen. And God, we're in a world now where, you could literally do anything on social media and, create a business from it. So it's been pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's one thing I found through, this season talking to all different kinds of creative people. Social media is really like such a big tool in that success and being able to take, your ideas and your creations and share them with everyone else. And it is so cool just seeing how, no matter what industry you're in, I feel like social media has a spot for you, which is awesome. And it leads to those really cool opportunities.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I tell kids all the time that, it doesn't matter what, like I do food. I'm a food creator. I do barbecue and cooking and grilling, and that's my niche, right? But it doesn't matter if lifestyle creators are just blowing up right now, like huge right now. It's like there was a point handful of years ago where food creators were really blowing up, and we still are to a degree, but like you can't scroll through any social media without these lifestyle creators. And lifestyle is just such a broad area. Like you can literally do anything. You're into fashion, you're into dance, you're into travel, you're into comedy, you're into like whatever you're into there. Like you just said, there's a place for you. If you're creative and you don't mind being in front of a camera and sharing, some personal information about yourself and your story and what got you there, that's what people want. And I think a lot of that, a lot of people credit COVID for the big boom in social media and creators and the growth that happened during that, because we were all stuck in our houses on our phones, right? That's kind of where it started. And I think people, really discovered themselves there and were able to share stories. That's what people want after having that time with COVID and people being locked down and not being able to have that social interaction. Especially now, people are like still craving it, man. They want to know the people that they're watching or engaging with on social media. So, if you're someone that can kind of open up and be part of that and tell your story and connect, you can create such a huge community within whatever niche it is you have. It's pretty wild. There's a couple that I know locally here. One girl that I taught, and I'll shout her out, went to Washington Township High School, and I taught her years ago, Monet McMichael. She's all over social media. She's in Paris she's a lifestyle fashion. She's getting into cooking now, so she's posting cooking videos, but she's just the epitome of what a lifestyle creator is. She's into everything. Like she's doing it all and just killing it, man. She's absolutely killing it. So she's, Monet McMichael, if you want to see a platform that is, an outline for how to make it happen. She's one to watch, because it's wild being able to follow her and know that, I was teaching her in gym class, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, that must be so rewarding too, to see them like as kids and then, they grow up and are doing all these cool things. And, you knew them when they were, just in high school.
Yeah, really,
awesome.
really cool.
So to circle back on your cooking, I do have a couple questions for you. So my first is just, what's your favorite thing to cook? And, how do you get creative with, your recipes and what you're making in the kitchen? Yeah,
man, so much of my inspiration with recipes come from, watching other creators and other cooks, being able to be locked into that community, that food community we have. There's so many people just doing really, really cool stuff online. So a lot of times, and, I like to hope that people see the same with me and my content. They look at my stuff and they see something they like, whether it's some barbecue stuff or something I'm cooking in my classroom with my culinary kids, like, hey, let me give that a try. And then you kind of make it your own, so I might find something online. I did a video a few weeks back there was this woman on Instagram that posted a video of these chocolate chip cookies, and they were brown butter chocolate chip cookies. And I'm not a baker, right? I don't bake. I cook meat. I grill, I smoke, I do barbecue. One of my favorite things to do now is to kind of get outside of that comfort zone. And when you say, like, what's my favorite thing to do, I could easily say cook a steak or make some ribs, But right now I'm in a point where I like the challenge of trying to replicate something else I see that might be, a baking recipe. Or this week in school, we made gnocchi. I'm Irish. I've never made gnocchi in my life. I can hardly say it. But to be able to challenge myself where not only am I trying to cook it and test the recipe myself, but now I have to teach it to students as well and hope that they come out with a good product. So favorite things to cook, it's right now I'm in like a baking kind of cooking phase where I'm challenging myself to make things like carrot cake and banana bread and, like the gnocchi, like an Italian dish that's totally not my wheelhouse. Constantly learning and evolving. And so that's what a lot of my favorite things are now. But those brown butter cookies, if you go on my page, they're pretty easy to make, and they were as good as advertised from the initial video that I saw.
Totally gonna make those
They're
now.
incredible. Just look up brown butter cookies. So you'll find a couple really good recipes.
Do your kids like, cooking with you? Is that something that you guys do together, or?
Yeah, so we have a lot of fun. My boys are 9 and 10, so they're in that YouTube era, If they ever have any downtime and we're good with it, we let them use. It's hard when you live on your phone as a social media creator or food creator. It's really hard to tell your kids, like, no, you're not allowed to have any screen time, or no, put the phone down. Because they're instantly like, you're always on your phone, Dad. I'm like, yeah, but like, I'm paying for everything that you have in this house. Like,
right?
This is my job. They do love it. They want to constantly be in videos for the sake that it's, they get to see themselves on video. But they do enjoy when I'm in the backyard, when I'm grilling or cooking. They enjoy being part of it. They help me out a lot. They've gotten to travel with me a bit and do some different things that involve food and cooking. So we love kind of messing with my wife, with their mom. She's vegetarian, which is wild because all I do is cook meat. So we kind of play games with the videos that way. Like, we have a running, joke of trying to pretend that we're tricking her into eating meat, even though she's been vegetarian since she was 13. It's all a skit. It's like a Saturday Night Live skit. We put it on, and my wife knows about it. But it makes for some entertaining videos when the boys are sneaking around helping me, like, trick her into, trying something that's, a steak or a burger or something like that. Replacing her veggie burger with a beef burger, or something like that. So, but the boys love it.
I did look at, like your Instagram and stuff a little bit. So, being a business owner and being a teacher, I feel like you have a lot of chances to give back to your community. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering, as an entrepreneur, what would you say the importance of, like, that community engagement and, giving back to, your local area?
Yeah.
What's, like, the importance of that?
Man, Madison, you couldn't have set me up more perfect for this one, because really going back, this entire thing, the fact I'm sitting here having this whole conversation with you and being able to do what I'm able to with the group net, when I leave here, talking to those kids, it all started from being able to give back. That's how everything I'm doing started. Anytime I have an interview or a podcast like this, that's what we go back to. That's where my story starts. I started Groark Boys BBQ in 2018. The school year of 2017-18. Prior to that, like I mentioned, I have two boys. They're 9 and 10 years old. My wife and I struggled through pregnancies. We struggled to build a family and have kids. We lost 5 pregnancies over the course of 6-7 years. We were blessed to have our 2 boys back to back after losing our first 3. We had Adric and Nash. Adric was born with a cleft lip and palate. So we had to go through the stress and heartache of, are there any associated disorders that come with that? When he's born, you only know so much through in utero testing and all that stuff. But fortunately, he was healthy. Everything was great. It was just a surgical procedure, which took a few years. Had his lip revision, had his palate revision. He's doing great now. He is thriving. He's an animal. Awesome. He's crazy. After that, we wanted a third, and we went through in vitro IVF, and which is extremely expensive and exhausting at the same time. And unfortunately lost 2 more pregnancies through that process, and then pretty much tapped out. And we were blessed to have the 2 boys we had. I know a lot of people go through what we did and don't have kids to go home to, so puts things in perspective. But our last loss, I missed about a week or so of school, dealing with things and just getting, my wife healthy and back home. And when I got back to school, my class of juniors, I was in health at the time. And being a health phys ed teacher, we talk about pregnancy. We talk about all of those things. It was kind of an opportunity for me to come back to school. And, I'm a talker. I talk when I'm emotional. I talk to help cope and deal. Some people shut down and don't. For me, it was an opportunity to, use my experience, my story as a teachable moment for my kids at school. And they instantly came up to me and they wanted to know I was okay. They knew that we were pregnant. They knew something happened, and they were just so instinctually human to like worry about me, and want to make me happy, want to make me feel better. And I came into class one day, and one kid, Evan Chu, came up and handed me a card, and there were 2 tickets to a Sixers game, and they all signed it and said, thanks for teaching us how to keep our heads up when things hit rock bottom and all this and that. And it was so touching. One of them was filming it and caught me like crying up front in the class, and they asked me if they could post it on Twitter, and they did, and it went viral. And, the story kind of made it to the news for what the kids did for me. And I ended up turning the trip to the Sixers game with my wife and I to a field trip, and I was able to bring my whole class with me. So we went to the Sixers game. We got on buses and went to Philly. CBS, NBC, Fox, all covered it. It was wild, and the kids deserved every bit of it, just because they wanted to make their teacher feel better, after going through a pretty rough time. And after that news broke, I was on social media at the time. I was kind of just starting to grow and create like a little bit of a community. Someone reached out to me from California. Our story, my kid's story, student's story, made it all the way to LA and was on an affiliate station in LA. And I had a meat company, a butcher, reach out to me and say, hey, I saw what your students did for you at your high school. I would love to, help you host a barbecue if you would want to cook for them. And I'm like, well, listen, I teach at the biggest high school in South Jersey. I can't just cook for 30 kids when I have 3,000 at my school that all know who I am and that I cook. And we ended up turning it into a big fundraiser. And at our home opener football game, I cooked pulled pork, mac and cheese, bottle of water, chips, and we did $10 for a plate, and everyone that came in bought it, and we raised about $4,000 for 3 different charities, Operation Smile for my son and the cleft community, MS for everyone who I've ever known who struggles with MS. My stepmom does, and the Epilepsy Foundation, who our superintendent at the time, Joe Bollendorf, he lost his daughter to complications from epilepsy. So was able to give back some money to, the community. And that's where, in order to do that fundraiser and do it the right way, from a health department standpoint, serving people food, I had to start the business. And so that's when I started the LLC. And that was my very first time cooking in public, was to give back to the community that did so much for me and helped me through a hard time. And that's kind of been my mantra since then, man. There's been times where, we've lost students at Washington Township High School. Just last year, we lost a girl a senior to a car accident that happened in Deptford. Her and her boyfriend were driving, and she got hit, and we lost her. She was a softball player, and we were able to raise some money for, her and her family, whether it's childhood cancer or any other number of things, house fires or whatever. I try to always be there, and whether it's through monetary donations or cooking and just feeding people, food's powerful, man. And it's something everybody connects with, and food truly is a love language, and there's a lot of ways you can express that, and being able to help out people when they need it is hands down the best part of what I do. So that's where it all started. So yeah, I encourage anyone that gets into anything they do where they're possibly going to be in a public eye or be able to be in a position to help people to do exactly that, because there's nothing more true than the fact that the biggest thing you have to give is yourself, right? Like, give of yourself, like give your time, give your effort, give your, whatever it is. It's giving back doesn't have to be monetary. A lot of people think giving back has to be money, and it really doesn't. It can be time, it can be an ear, it can be mentorship, it could be a lot of different things. So that's what I encourage kids to do. That's what I encourage my students to do. There's a book that I'll recommend to your listeners. If you go check out a book called The Go Giver, that's the book that really changed everything for me from a perspective standpoint. Receiving and, being able to give of yourself and, from what you do as a profession, and being able to take advantage of that and give back to the community is huge.
That's what it's all about, right? I feel like having, the platform that you do have and the success that you've found, I feel like it makes it all worth it if you're able to help somebody else, which,
That's it. Yeah. It's the name of the game, man. It really is.
So, after you started your business, you were featured on Next Level Chef, which, just adds to all of this. So would you be able to talk to me a little bit about, what that experience was like and getting to go on that show and, having your students see you and inspire them as well? So, man,
I never applied to be on it, right? You can get on these shows in a couple different ways. You can go online and fill out an application to go on. And be reached out to by a casting team. They also kind of scour the internet and scour social media, the casting team does, to look for people they might think would be good on TV or whatever it is they're looking for. And I was reached out to through, my Instagram DMs from a casting company telling me that they'd be interested in talking to me about possibly being on Next Level Chef, which when I got that message at first, you think it's spam. You wonder if it's a hoax and if it's even real. And then after digging into it a little bit, found out it was. Instantly went to my wife and was like, look at this. They're like asking me to like have an interview and possibly, try to get on this show with Gordon Ramsay. And I was hesitant. I'm not much of at the time, I didn't have much confidence in my ability outside of just barbecue. And Next Level Chef is like some professional chefs, really, really talented home cooks and social media cooks that were going to be cooking all kinds of different cuisine. So for me, being a barbecue guy, I was like, that's my niche. That's my, I'm a big believer of like, stay in your lane, right? Like wherever you find success, like stay there, stay in your lane. And I've done that. I've done that really well over the years. I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not. And when I'm not good at something, I know how to find the people that are and be able to form relationships with them. And, I've done a good job of that. But my wife pretty much looked at me and was like, Matt, it's Gordon effing Ramsay. You got to do it. And I'm like, all right. So I took the interview. It went really well. Then a Zoom call. And then they edit that down and send it to production. And long story short, they told me I was in. They wanted me on the show. Again, it was another like self-doubt, like, all right, here's the final answer. Like, am I going or not? Filming was in London. So I had to go to London for minimum a couple weeks, and went to my wife again. And I was like, babe, I don't know, man. I like the competition thing, food. I just don't know if I'm into it. And again, she was like, it's Gordon Ramsay, Matt. You gotta do it. And she was right, and she did, she pumped me up, man. She's my biggest fan, biggest motivator. And she was like, look, people on food shows and cooking shows get kicked off because they do one of two things. They either don't know how to season their food and they don't add enough salt, and things like that, or they mess up their meat. They overcook a steak or they undercook a piece of chicken. She's like, those are the two things that you're best at. Like, they're two of your really, really good strengths, is seasoning and making things taste good and nailing your meat, like cooking your temperatures, knowing how to cook a great piece of meat. And she was right. I was able to look at myself and go, you know what, I am really good at those things. So again, get on the show and stay in my lane, do what I do well and focus on that. And that's kind of what I did. And it was a wild experience. Had to travel to London for it. It was coming off of COVID in 2022, 23. So we were kind of quarantined to the hotel. So there was a lot of alone time. And, you have to deal with being in your own head a lot during those times, sitting in your hotel room. But I crammed on YouTube and learning different recipes and trying to expand on what I was able to cook outside of just barbecue. And in addition to just meeting some really, really awesome people that I competed against and with, that I'm still friends with to this day. I'm sure if people go back and listen to this, you could probably find a couple of them who are huge online now. Cassie Young is someone who you'd find on social everywhere. Teeny, little blonde girl. She cooks for her boyfriend, and she makes this crazy mac and cheese recipe that went insanely viral. She's been on the Today Show, Good Morning. I mean, she's been everywhere. Wow. But just some really, really dear friends now that I've made through the process. And, I made it 7 episodes. So, I hung in. It was about halfway through the entire show. I made it, and not too shabby for a barbecue guy, So, yeah, it was an amazing experience. I said, to this day, I would do it again tomorrow. The biggest question I always get about being on the show was like, is Gordon Ramsay as big of a jerk as he seems like on some of his shows? And, our show, Next Level Chef, is really based on mentorship, right? So you have three mentors, Gordon, Richard Blaze, and Naisha Arrington, just world-renowned chefs in their own right, in their own space, and them building teams and then competing against each other. But the whole time they're mentoring us. They're trying to help us. We're their team. And so Gordon, I wasn't on his team, but I had a couple interactions with him. And I mean, he's a lot bigger than you think he is. He's like
Really?
6'1". He's really broad chested and wide. I mean, he's a big dude.
I'd have expected him to be like short.
Nah,
I don't know why.
I'm 6 foot, and I felt like I was looking up to him. So he's probably around 6'2". And he's athletic, man. He's broad chested. He bicycles a lot. Really in shape dude. And I was kind of looking up to him. I was like, holy crap! Like I'm standing right next to Gordon Ramsay. But he was really cool, man. Really, really easy to talk to. Really helpful. A couple of my friends were on his team, and they just love him.
You balance a lot of different hats, between the business and your social and just teaching, which is also a full-time job. That's 7 a.m. to like 3 p.m. every day. Like I always say, I'm like, I don't think I could ever go back to high school just because I can't be in a building all day. I can't do it. It's just my brain, but that's a huge time commitment. So how do you balance, having a family, being a business owner, doing social media and managing that, because that in and of itself is a lot too, between answering DMs and coming up with ideas. How would you say you manage all of that and manage your time? Because that's where I feel like a lot of people struggle with entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think, it's gotten to a point where I'm almost on cruise control to a degree. I don't even realize how much I'm doing and multitasking at times. It's just become kind of what I do. I would love to be able to take my social media platforms and hand them off to a management team that could do all my posts. I would love to be able to drop my camera and say here and give it to someone that could just film for me. And I would love to be able to find a creative that I could say here, use Chat GPT and AI to come up with video concepts and ideas and let me know what they are and let's film them. I would love to be able to do that, but I'm not there yet as far as, my commitments to my family and my job and all that stuff. So it's gotten to a point where, man, this phone is just, it's got everything that you need. I do all my editing on the phone. I typically film with just my phone, and the quality is so good. So technology and how far it's advanced in quality and efficiency is the biggest reason I'm probably able to do it, because I can be at school. I edited 3 videos in school today.
Oh, wow.
During my lunch, so during my lunch period, instead of running out to Wawa and eating, I work in a kitchen now. I teach culinary. I make my lunch. I sit down, I eat, and I edit some videos. So knowing where and when I can do it, fitting those times in so that when I get home with my family, I'm more present, which is also a struggle, figuring out how to balance that phone time and the work part of the social media when I get home. Sometimes I'm filming when I'm at home. Sometimes I'm sitting on the couch editing and I have my kids like, Dad, let's go out and have a catch. I have to be able to put it down and go outside and have a catch, And I'm not always the best at doing that, but it's something I have to constantly work on. I've gotten to the point where it kind of comes naturally now with all the different things I need to kind of manage. But the biggest thing I constantly have to work on is that time management of it, right? And not being too separated from the things that matter the most. Finding opportunities to be able to edit a video or film at home or involve my kids you know, when I'm at home, because then it feels a little different. Takes a village. It's a team game.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like those are honestly like the best memories, though.
It was awesome. It was awesome to be able to produce a book, a cookbook, which again is another thing I never thought I'd end up doing. But it comes out May 20th next month, so it's been a 3-year process, which is crazy. But to be able to see my name on the cover of the book and see my wife's name underneath it as the photographer is pretty special. We'll be on the Today Show on May 20th.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
Tune in for that. May 17th, we'll be at the Barnes & Noble in Deptford here doing like a signing event, and I'll have some small bites of food from the book to treat everybody to. So yeah, we got some pretty cool things coming up next month.
Oh, that is awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, and that's so cool that you guys get to do it together. You know, like I'm a journalism major, so my biggest dream is always to write a book.
Yep.
So I totally relate to just like one day I just want to see like my name on the cover, but to see your name and your wife's name, I feel like that is just that's so special that you guys are able to make really that together.
Cool. One of our one of my friends from Next Level Chef worked at her name's Maureen, and she lives in Brooklyn. If you watch season 2, you'll see her, you'll meet her on there, and she worked at Bon Appetit.
Oh, nice.
Magazine. So she did a lot of journalism and writing. I mean, she's incredibly talented, has a book of her own now. She went the culinary path, but she's so well written and just smart, and just everything she writes is like a poem. You know, she's so good at it.
My mom, she's a real estate entrepreneur. She does her own thing. She sells houses, but she didn't find that till she was 50. And so every time I feel like that's a lot of things that this also goes into my next question too. But I feel like a lot of college students, they have this idea that when they graduate, they need to have everything figured out. And I'm going to have my dream job on May 10th when I throw my cap in the air, and that's it. So I guess like what advice would you give to a student who is either about to graduate or they're in college right now and they're sort of trying to figure life out and they don't really know what's going to come next? What advice would you have for them?
I've learned a phrase from a former student of mine. His name is Kyle. I've gotten a chance to reconnect with him over the last like year or so and follow his journey. He's a fitness influencer, mental health advocate, you know, had to bury a friend when he was in college to suicide, you know. So, I mean, this kid's just, you want to talk about things that could break you. You know, he's been there. No father growing up, single mom. The kid's been through it, and he has persevered, man. And to be able to see him now as a former student of mine is inspiring to me, you know, and I've been able to tell him this, which is awesome. But he uses a phrase that goes to exactly your question, and he says in all of his videos, passion goes places. I hear him say that, and it just instantly, like, that's the answer to your question, right? For these kids coming out of college or young adults coming out of college, whatever it is that you feel you want to do, whatever it is, whatever job you feel you need, or however much, whether you want to travel when you get out of college for a couple years and then go into the workforce, whatever it is, find what you're passionate about, and you're going to go somewhere. And that's like the best advice, and it came from a former student of mine. You know, I think it all the time for the past year that I've been hearing him say it. Passion goes places. Passion goes places. Like, think about that. Like, say it to yourself. I'm like, passion goes places. And I just repeat it. And, man, it just couldn't be more true.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, for joining us today. I am so inspired by you. And, you know, I think, you know, you've offered us so much good advice, and just listening to your career journey, I think it's something that's going to really help a lot of students.
Awesome. I hope so. It's been awesome to come back. Love the fact that I get to go here and talk to some more students. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And to everybody listening at home, thank you for tuning in this season. I couldn't have had a better last episode. It was a pleasure getting to meet and chat with so many creative people, you know, like yourself. And I just hope that this inspires everyone at home to pursue their creative dreams because, like you said, you know, passion goes places.
Thank you for listening. Rowan is proud to be an official knowledge hub of the International Council for Small Business. Our AACSB award-winning entrepreneurship programs challenge students to solve real problems in bold and impactful ways. If you're interested in supporting entrepreneurship at Rowan or want to get more involved by hiring an intern, speaking to a class, or being featured as a case study, contact us at rcie@rowan.edu.